Evening, folks. Evening. Welcome back to the Hotspur Hood, another edition of the N17 Effect. As always, on a Tuesday night, we are live. Well, kinda. You could also be watching on the recording, of course. Either way, thanks for coming. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, the normal jazz. We've got super chats on too. That's not a scarf. Dan's wearing. How are you, Dan?
I'm all right. See, Tom, I weren't lying when I said I was going to get my snake out, was I?
I didn't have a fucking clue what he's talking about. He messaged me before we came on. I didn't know what he's chatting about. But no,
she was a bit cold. She needed to come out. It's a bit cold.
Bloody hell.
So she just wanted a bit of warmth.
Brave man. Chris, you ain't been on for a while, my friend. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. Just for having me on. How you guys?
We've got a packed show. We'll have Jacob coming on shortly. We'll have a few people coming on and off on today's channel. I know it's a very diluted, packed schedule in the Spurs community tonight. So thanks for joining us. Right, let's get straight down to it. I mean, the fallout from the Villa game. There's no time to feel sorry for ourselves. There's no international breaks up until January transfer window, at least. Man City Sunday, Etihad. Literally, there's no time to feel sorry for ourselves. There really isn't.
Nope.
But this is worrying on a lot of people's minds. Dan, I'm going to get this going. Do you think Ange will change his system? Will he go to a plan B, plan C, plan D? And if so, would you like him to?
Well, this is what they say the difference between a good manager and a great manager is, doesn't it? I mean, to be a great manager, you've got to know how you want to play, but you've also got to be able to play with what you've got. And with what we got at the moment, ain't going to be the way he plays. Even if they're able to keep it up for, say, 50 minutes, he hasn't got the subs to then bring on to keep on his style of play. But I don't see him changing it either. And you know what? We'll probably do City 3-1. Why? Because it would be the most Spursy thing to do. Go and lose these two, which we should have won. Then go and bang City. Then go and get beaten in the next two. It's got Tottenham written all over it, mate.
Do you think we should go gung-ho though? Would you just stay, look, we're staying attacking even with the injuries. We're saying, okay, we're going to put Davis and Royal at the back, fullbacks playing at centre-back, and we're just going to go for it every game. Like he's suggesting in interviews, he's saying, we're playing this way. This is how we're playing forever.
Look, mate, I'd say anyone going all guns blazing at City is crazy, but I think it is what it is, isn't it? I think he's gonna. I don't see any reason for him not to. In a way, he's got nothing to lose, really.
And the injuries keep coming. Keep coming. Welcome, Jacob. I'm sure, mate, you do the rounds on social media. You've got your own YouTube channel. You must have seen the news. Everybody wants Matty Cash dead, quite frankly, because it looks like Bentancur's out for the next 2.5 months.
More than that.
Do you think Ange will change, Jacob? Do you think it's necessary for Ange to change?
If I'm honest, it don't really matter, does it? Because we had Conte, Mourinho with some of these players that sat off and soaked up, counter-attack, generally didn't work. We go gung-ho, don't work. It realistically doesn't matter because the players that we got, it don't really matter, does it? Do you know what I mean? Like we against Villa, we played well, but the concerning thing is that we're playing well and losing games. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, if we were playing well and you know if we lost to Villa and Villa did what we did to Villa, I think I'd take it a little bit more easier than the fact that we outplayed them and lost. But I think the formula's coming like from a manager. You know, Unai Emery must have looked to that, and a lot of managers doing it now. It's like realistically, Tottenham will give it all the energy, they'll get all excited and that. But if they've got a defence that are capable of playing well and conceding 2 or 3 goals, and they've got an attack that ain't going to outscore you, then what is the formula for Tottenham winning the game if we're not keeping clean sheets and outscoring opponents? In the round, you know, we weren't doing it with Maddison in. You know, I felt that we could play up against anyone, but it's now like it becomes the creativeness of Spurs is. It feels a little bit more desperate now. You know, with Maddison, it was like a tick, 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 tick. You could just see it was like playing FIFA. You knew what was going to happen. It felt like you was controlling the game, even though you wasn't. As soon as Maddison comes out, it's like, you know, we give it to Brennan Johnson, hope he does something. We hope Son's onside. I mean, Kulusevski had a wicked game, if I'm honest, and shout out to Dan because we was all on the show the other week saying Kulusevski in the number 10, but he absolutely smacked it. Like the only thing he didn't do was score.
We'll score an hat trick.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like if he scored,
he was unlucky to score. A lot of people give him jip for the miss. It was a bad miss, but it was inside of the post, and it was great dribbling.
No, that first one was forgivable. It was the one after that wasn't. And what you're saying about creating chances, I think we created more chances in that game than we have any other game. It was just our finishing was atrocious. Ange got it right in the aspect of score 3 in the first half and we'd be sorted.
Yeah, true.
We just done everything except score it. It was the finishing on that day. I mean, Son, hat trick offside and another 2 offside. I know what you mean. Weren't the problem, and I thought it was going to be the problem. It really weren't in that last game.
You know what it was? It was like when I was watching the game, I was watching it with my son, and he was like, "What do you reckon, Dad?" I said, "Look, I thought we was going to lose 2-1 if I'm honest." But then when we scored, he was like jumping around. He's only 7, so he's like, "Yeah, come on, Dad, we're going to smack him." I said, "No, just chill out a sec." He's like, "Why is that?" I said, "Because for me, the players looked far too excited that I thought we'll probably end up conceding in a minute." And literally turned round from cooking to veg, and only Watkins had scored. And my son was like, "How do you know that, Dad?" I was like, "Hey, I've supported."
We know the Premier League. We're not, we're no spring chickens. None of us here are spring chickens. If Thiago was on, perhaps early 20s, but we know if you miss your chances, Spurs. Any Premier League team, you miss that many chances, they're going to come back and bite you in the arse. And Chris, I think you was the only one there because you said you was behind a Hojbjerg shot earlier on off stage. Could you feel it at the game? Could you feel Villa coming back and winning the game? Because we took the lead again, like we did against Wolves. Took the lead, ended up losing.
Last season, every time we conceded a goal, it's like, well, that's game over because we're not going to outscore this team or any team. Whereas this season, going gung ho. To a certain extent, I always thought we'd score another goal, and just our lack of clinicalness and the fact that Martinez made some wonderful saves at key times stopped us getting the results. Play that game tomorrow, another day. We end up scoring 4 or 5 in that game. So I always thought we'd get back and score, and even to the end we were creating chances. But I still can't believe we lost that game. But then I suppose if you're conceding goals and playing defensively like that, you're going to concede goals. 3 free headers, one of them offside, didn't count. The other one should have scored, and the third one he did. Can't get. We're playing Haaland next. If we play gung ho against City, we're going to get destroyed, I think. But Postecoglou said after the Chelsea game, we'd be playing with the high line after the going down to 9 men. We'd be playing like that if we go down to 5, mate. And I don't think he's going to change. I think we're going to go gung ho against City. And if defensively we play 2 wing backs, full backs, whatever they are, in the middle, Haaland's going to be licking his lips and thinking I can get like 6 in this game. But then I suppose if we do attack, they're going to have to defend to a certain extent because we've shown we can score goals. We're just, I guess you could say it was unlucky against Villa, but I don't think it will change against City. I think it's going to be gung ho all the way.
Oh man, I hope not. I don't even know what I want because it's like you say gung ho and you're like, oh, don't, but then you like sit off, oh, don't. So it's like.
I think it is the best. I think gung ho is the best opportunity. I think it's the only opportunity we've got. If we sit, we've got to be 3-0 up. And then because our fitness in the last 20-30 minutes is shocking after pressing so high. So we need to be 2 or 3. We need to be 2 or 3-0 up. Have that barrier before we get to 60-70 minutes again, especially against a side like Man City and their fitness levels.
I think if we go gung ho, they'll pick us off at will. Triangles, playing through the lines, over the top. It's got to be an element of defensive solidity, and then when we do get the ball, break quickly and in numbers. But
that makes sense. With a good defense, that makes sense. But with this defense,
imagine being Haaland, and you're sitting there and you're getting ready, you're doing your little ponytail,
and you're looking at Davis and Royale,
Emerson Royal and Ben Davis.
I think even with
funny, if I went gym for 2 weeks, I'd fancy myself getting a goal.
Honestly,
that's how bad they are.
You can just literally pick taking his ponytail out, can't you? Shaking his head like he did with Arsenal and say, "Let's go."
Not that it's any better, but I'd much prefer us to be a bit more, I'd say solid, but trying to be solid. Because if we get picked off and it's 1-on-1 with any of them 2 against Haaland, that is a goal. Whereas at least if there's players back, we've got bodies in the box, so ricochets can go anywhere and then be able to clear it. But I think if we go gung ho, they will pick us off at will, and there'll be a goal glut for Haaland and City.
Look, the problem is we're screwed if we do, and we're screwed if we don't.
Exactly.
It really is that much of a situation at the moment. Because again, in the last game, if we'd have actually scored the chances we had, or even half of them, we'd have been 3-1 up at half time, and then we could they'd have only scored one anyway, and we'd have won that 3-2. It's just, yeah, when you're going against someone like City for that, that's just a different kettle of fish, isn't it?
Do you know this, right? We're going to get onto Bentancur shortly. Daryl's hit the nail on the head. If you look at my YouTube history, before I come on, I was looking at these challenges that Romero put on Haaland, because I remember the fan base were praising Romero for making these challenges that were no way near the ball, going, "Oh, he's great, he's brilliant, he's one of our own." Da, 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 da. And the minute Cash does it for Villa, he needs to be shot.
This is what I was saying all over socials. It's like I remember this guy. I can't remember what his name is now. But
and we're even looking at Romero on the bench. Have you seen the look that Romero gave? And everyone's made a still of it. And like, you wait till Romero's back, because Romero does it. He takes people out. Where is he now? He's sitting suspended because he fucking almost drop kicked someone. Okay, he won the ball, but you know that's why he's on the bench. Well,
that's what I'm saying. It's like what's the word? It's hypocritical, because it's like Tottenham fans were complaining about what Matty Cash done. But then all I kept seeing on Twitter was that picture of Romero in his black jacket going, "Oh, they're going to go and get him." So what are you expecting Romero to go and do? Have a nice little chat with him and a cup of tea?
Exactly.
So you want him to do the same thing, but if he does that, everyone would be like, "Yeah, wicked." Like what? Romero, I remember the same fans saying that Romero got the ball against Enzo Fernandez. I'd rather get tackled by Matty Cash the way he did than what Romero did. Facts.
And we know,
I agree,
Villa fans are going to love it. Villa fans absolutely love this. They're going to be loving Matty Cash right now, because
mate, I'm surrounded by my work, man. Every single person at my work here supports Villa. I've got about 7 of them.
Oh dear.
So I walked into work, man, just put my headphones in. I was just like, yeah, whatever, man.
I don't even think it was Cash that caused the injury. I think he came back from Uruguay with a bit of a knock on him, because if you look where Cash caught him, he caught him right in the middle of the shin. The injury has turned out from pretty much everywhere I've read that it's ankle ligaments.
Exactly.
That kick in the shin would not have caused ankle ligaments unless his foot was dug in the ground, which it wasn't. And how hard the kick was, if his foot was dug in the ground with the studs, that would have probably broke his leg.
Exactly.
So I think he already had a knock before he came on.
Well, we know he had a knock. We know he had a knock 6 weeks ago, because it was his first start for 10 months, so he was fragile regardless.
Exactly, yeah. And you know what it is? You know, like with you know the Matty Cash tackle, like everybody's going mad. But I remember saying to a few of my friends at Sport Tottenham, I was like, look, do you know what that's like? It's like whatever league you play in, whether you're playing Sunday League, Premier League, whatever, you know, when you're a player and you're getting annoyed that no one's getting stuck in, you're getting dominated, sometimes you get that one player that says, you know what, like I'm gonna do something like Matty Cash did, just to make my team aware that we need to get stuck into these boys. So I don't think he was out to break his leg. I've done that loads of times in Sunday League, where you're just like, mate, why is no one getting stuck in? And you took someone out, shook his hand, end of story. Now, most players get up from that and just kind of go, yeah, it's arse tackle, roll over on the floor for a bit,
It
and get up. But then Bentancur, he's going to be injury prone after what happened to him. So whether, you know, it gets to the point when you get ACLs, it's not just about that particular part of your body. Your other body becomes susceptible as well. So I think that's just how it is.
His opposite leg, isn't it?
Exactly that.
It was his left leg that he done first, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It was a naughty challenge. Let's get it straight. It was a naughty challenge. I don't think it was sending off because his studs weren't raised. If his studs were raised, he's off. So that's, you see that as a yellow card all day long.
It's a bit of an orange card thing, isn't it? You see what I mean? It's a bit of an orange card.
Have you seen the stories about them bringing an orange card out, trying an orange card next season? Have you seen the stories?
I saw about a sin bin idea.
Yeah, they're calling it the orange card. They're calling it the orange card. It's the sin bin.
Orange card, like flip it. Like they'll take about 10 minutes to watch it on VAR and get an orange card out. Like,
yeah, because for me it weren't quite a red, but it was a bit more than a yellow sort of thing. It was a proper in betweener. I mean, another day, another ref could have sent him off for that. It was just one of them ones. Yeah, for me, it was a yellow card.
Yeah, same as I agree. Like we see them week in, week out. You think, yeah, it weren't nice, but it ain't a red.
Yeah, in terms of look, the title question, we don't do Plan B. I definitely want him to change his plans from time to time. I don't think he has much choice right now other than go attack. He'll have to change in this league. with the players injured, with the standard of teams and managers working your team out. And they are working us out now. Emery going into that game must have been, what is this lineup? I was like, what the fuck? This is crazy. This is fully gung-ho. We're basically playing one centre mid in Ben Tankert, who hasn't played for 10 months. So managers will be looking at this now. They will be getting prepared for a full-on attacking team. And as I said, I've said it on another show earlier, we can, and other teams can, dismantle the press by playing Route 1 football. We saw Luton and Sheffield United. They done extremely well against us. We only beat them by 1 goal. Everyone's beating Sheffield United 8-0. We were 1-0 down in injury time. Route 1, it cancels the press. And the best teams that can play at the back, like Man City, they don't care about the press. Their defenders are good enough on the ball. That's going to be a problem. It's going to be a big, big problem on Sunday. We've sort of been playing a lot of the middle ground teams, and managers haven't worked us out yet. They're going to start working us out now with the injuries. I want to be positive. I do want to be positive. But to be fair, I said at the start of the 4 fixtures after the international duty, we would lose to Villa, we would get a point against City. I still got a funny feeling we're going to get a point to City and then beat West Ham. We'll see.
I'm not feeling like that, man. Like the thing is, though, if what I think is like everybody expects Man City to do, the tiki-taka, keep possession. They'll do that in times because that's the nature of the beast. But I'm quite confident that if I'm Pep Guardiola, obviously he's like the best coach. But if you're looking at it and you see Emerson Rowe and Ben Davies, you'd be saying to Rodri, Ruben Diaz, even Edison, just boot it long, man, and let Haaland gobble that up because he'll just bring it down, play people in, and if it goes over Emerson Rowe or Ben Davies' head, if they keep doing what Leicester did with Jamie Vardy on that day, and you just go, right, you know what, forget our principles, just keep playing it over the top with Emerson Rowe and Ben Davies, Haaland will score 5. But it depends whether they do it. Because we'll push up, and we'll push up with crap defenders. And Haaland's like the best striker over the top in the world. So, mate, you do that 10 times, you'll score 6.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's what I'd be doing. Anyway.
And we don't have a huge amount of pace.
Go on, mate.
What's that?
We don't have a huge amount of pace there, and Doku is lightning quick and on fire.
Oh, man, I forgot about him.
Hell of a lot of
penalties.
That last game coming from midfield as well. Doku, though,
Mate, I honestly forgot about Doku. Oh my god!
You see, with that Doku, the only thing I've seen wrong with him so far, but that's where he's young, is there's plenty of times where he should pass instead of run. That's the only mistake I've seen him make, really. Apart from that, this fella looks like he's going to be mustard. Seriously, he looks like he's going to be shit off.
Pep will sort that out in his game fairly quickly, though, because he'll have noticed that.
Yeah, I'm saying that's the only thing I've seen wrong with him.
He takes it out of any player. You got to look at, like, Pep's had some mad players that just always run. Like, he had Pedro. Pedro was a dribbler, mate, and he was like, nah, don't dribble, mate. Henri, you got to think, he had Henri doing it simple. You know what I mean? So...
Do you know who he reminds me of, Doku, when he picks the ball up? He reminds me a little bit of Maximin back in the day. And Maximin, under Guardiola, if he had Guardiola's stewardship, it could be a top player.
Right, it'd be disgusting, mate.
Doku's serious. Doku's a serious player. The pace, they got bags of pace, and we know who's going to be on that side. I'll rate Porro. I think he's actually, I do rate him, and he's got slightly better defensively this season. But
that's still not good.
With those over the top balls. And Porro against Doku.
We're going to need the wingers to drop back and help the fullbacks out, whether that's Kulusevski, whether that's Johnson, Son, whoever.
Johnson don't do that. No. Not what I've seen in the past.
Even if he does, he don't really tackle, does he?
But in fairness to him, I think that must be Postecoglou telling him not to bother. Whereas Kulusevski, when he plays on the right, when we beat City 3-2 when Kane scored in the last minute, he was superb helping Royale out on that right side, tracking back. He didn't really attack much of that game, apart from the goal he scored early. But if we're going to go gung-ho, that means that it's the fullbacks, you're on your own, because the other guy is going to be up top. So I think he's got to make some slight tweaks if he doesn't want a destruction.
Right, I'm going to stick with you, Chris, on this point, but put you on a spot a little bit. But you've probably been to more home games than anyone in the league this season. I've been to a couple.
I've been 2.
3 losses on the bounce now. Do you think fans were too quick to hype up Ange?
Possibly, but the fact is we've had 3 years of absolute drab football. Now we're attacking and winning games, so fans would, allowed to dream and everything like that. I mean, I was saying that we're going to win the league just because I knew we weren't. So I'm never going to get that again. So I might as well have a go for a couple of weeks. But yeah, and we were playing well. And on paper, first 11, when everyone's fit, we've got a really good team and no Europe. So generally games week to week. But we knew that if we get key injuries, we haven't got the replacements for those key areas. We haven't really got a replacement for Maddison, whether Kulu is the answer long term, whether he'll get that answer long term. Played well, so he deserves his chance. Lo Celso, I thought, played quite well in the kind of, wasn't the number 10, but I guess the number 8. But then Son, if he's off the ball, Richarlison's injured, we don't really have another striker. Valise, Donnelly aren't tested, and we play a high line. It needs a quick defender, and it's the only quick one, and he's out for ages. So it was always going to be
him in there, isn't it?
Yeah. So and he's always going to get injured. Players who play with pace and use their pace in long sprints. Owen was the same. They're always going to get injuries and pull their hamstring because they're putting so much strain on it. So
you could see it coming, and he had a hamstring injury for 3 months last season, Van der Ven.
Yeah. So it's always going to happen when they're sprinting in straight lines for I don't know how many times a game, but multiple times a game. Owen used to have it all the time. There'd be countless other players that I can't think of who had out and out pace, who used to run and get hamstring injuries.
Ronaldo as well, like R9 Ronaldo.
But he was good enough to.
He got that injury, never really recovered. He's still done very well at Real Madrid, but he was never that same player for Inter Milan where he was unplayable in 96, 97, 98.
Oh, he's the best number 9 I've ever seen in my life.
That was where he done his knee ligaments, though, wasn't it? With Ronaldo, he actually done his knee ligaments in, and it was another part of the injury as well, and that just busted his career. That one did.
And his pace was unbelievable as well. Everyone talks about his finishing, but you talk to defenders coming up against him in that era. Yeah. They're like, we just couldn't do anything. Like even a Lilian Thuram, who were one of the best defenders in the world, was like, couldn't do anything. Like, he's just round me, and the ball was in the back of the net before I even get my head in space. It's crazy.
Another quick answer to your question. I think no Spurs fan when we were top thought hand on heart that we would win the league or get close to winning the league, but
there was some.
There was some,
there was some.
The majority then, but the majority of fans and I would think, and me included, thought maybe top 8 this season. So being top of the league and in that top 4 hunt, which we're still in that top 4 hunt, even though we dropped down to 5th, is better than I was expecting at this stage. It's just we've got to stop that rot and then hope we get some reinforcements in January. But I don't think Spurs fans are out of order for getting a bit carried away. I think it was more, apart from the minority, a bit more tongue-in-cheek, knowing that they wouldn't last there and just enjoy it while they can.
Jacob, what do you think about this hype around Ange? For me, he got a song released, like everyone's singing his song within 2 games. Don't get me wrong, it's fantastic attacking football. As Chris said, we haven't seen it for 3 years, but it was only 10 games, only 9 or 10 games. Was it over the top?
I think so. What it is that if you wanted to do that, like Spurs fans, so like Dan said it the other week, it's like sometimes Spurs fans can be the worst because Andrew, it was only 4 weeks ago. Andrew was like, we've turned the stadium into a nightclub. Everyone's singing "I'm loving Big Ange" instead. We lose a couple of games and everyone's not singing it anymore. It's just like, well, what? Were you just going to keep singing that, hoping that we're going to win every game? Do you know what I mean? It's like I like Ange, and I feel that if he was backed, you put it this way: if Ange was backed like Guardiola was backed, and he got top players playing this way, I'll go as far as saying he's capable of winning the league because it's different football. It's gutsy, it's wicked. And you look at the players that we've got, nobody in their right mind thought we'd be in the top 6. So for him to be top for that long, cool. And, realistically, Chris is right. No one expected us to be in them positions. But again, like for me, I was happy that we was winning games, but you weren't catching me singing the songs because I'm like, this is Tottenham, man. I've supported them for 30 years. There's no point, like, we was top after 9 games and people were coming into work going, you know what, I've got a funny feeling. And I'm like, well, you need to stop smoking weed then, bruv. Because
It's not a lot on his channel. It was happening on his channel, man. I can tell you that.
Man. I was like, you know how it is, whether I thought Arsenal going to win the league, Man U, Chelsea, Liverpool over the years. I've looked at the first 10 games and thought, all right, you never know. Next 10 games. For me, it's always been after the FA Cup third round. After the third round, you get into February, the latest, the Champions League stages. And you kind of look at a team and think, right, if they're in the Champions League, who they got? And are they going to prioritise? Have they spent in January? All of that. That's when I start thinking, you know what? I'll make my predictions sort of February about who's going to win the league. So when it's like it ain't even Halloween yet, and everyone's talking about like we're going to do a Leicester. Like, do you know what I mean? Like Leicester didn't even know what was going on. Like, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Leicester they were just about in the top 4 in at Halloween, and everyone was talking about that season it being Man City or Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? And then Leicester just slowly started getting momentum again. And I kept saying to people about Liverpool, people were like, Liverpool erratic. They got Nunes. I was like, the difference is that everyone's going on about Tottenham. Everyone's expecting Man City. And if they're not expecting Man City, it's Arsenal. But Liverpool just laying in the cut, getting the results. And you look at that draw that they got at the Etihad, Tottenham playing Man City the weekend. I can't remember who Liverpool got. But if they go and win that and we draw, they're top. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like I don't know, man.
The thing is,
if we lose to Man City and Man United win, we'd point beyond Man United. That's how quick things change. They're the worst start ever in the Premier League season. That's how quick things change in football. That's why I'm not being negative. You can call me negative. You can call me a miserable cunt. I don't care. But it's being non-reactionary. Sporting Spurs over the years took my emotion away from the game, so I sort of look at it. I look at it from the outside in.
It's realism.
Oh, of course, I'm still.
It's realism.
It's 10 games. We struggled against Luton. We struggled against Sheffield United. Sort of fortunate against Liverpool. So you've got to look at the games in detail as well. Don't get me wrong. I love the attacking football, and it's something we haven't seen for a long while. The signings we made, the starting 11 is very good. It's very, very good. And I think a lot of people predicted 6th, 7th mainly. Not just because we finished 8th last season. We sold Harry Kane as well. So you're like, if we got Harry Kane and we finished 8th, then what are we going to do this season? But I think in the other positions, creation, centre backs, we improved. But we've discussed it already. We knew VDV was going to get a hamstring injury with his pace, with his evidence 3 months out last season. He's getting a hamstring injury. Romero's going to get injuries or banned because he gets a lot of bans. He only played 19 league games in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
Look, at the start of the season.
So you have to get a centre-back. The minute you don't get a centre-back backup, the minute when we get injuries, we're going to be in big, big trouble. And we're in big trouble. It's not the 11 injuries. It's not. It's 2 injuries. It's Maddison and centre-back. They're the 2 injuries. The rest don't matter. Okay, they matter to a certain degree, but the rest are not that key. It's the creation. Now Kane's gone. Son's having to come deep. Can't create. Can't do what Kane did. And we can see that in the last 3 games. He can't do it.
Player.
And the centre-back, well, VDV and Romero have been fantastic. They work together so well. One covers, one comes out, wins the ball. Even with one back, so Romero's back for West Ham, right?
Yeah.
He's not back for City. It's still going to be a struggle. We saw Romero with shit defenders around him for the last 2 years and he didn't play well. So it's the depth. It's the lack of depth that's just killing us. This starting 11, staying fit, this is a top 4 starting 11, without a shadow of a doubt.
I think so. But
Without a shadow of a doubt,
stay fit. And if you would have said at the start of the season to anybody on here and practically anybody watching that at this stage of the season, we're being 5th place and 4 or 5 points off the top.
Yeah, 4.
I think anyone would have snatched that straight out your hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Bentancur's injury now is massive as well, just because Sarr and Basuma are off in January for, Sarr for Senegal will be a month. I expect them to get really far in that. Marley, I'm not quite so sure, but certainly 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. And I was hoping Bentancur could get fitness in, and then he'll be able to just slot in that midfield. But we've got Skip, Højbjerg, Lo Celso.
Mate, it's Tottenham, man. You know what will happen?
Chris, you beat me to my next. You beat me to my next topic. You beat me to my next segment. Centre mid. Okay, we know Bentancur's out for 2.5 months, so let's go forward. What do we do? What do we do? As you say, Bentancur's out. Sarr, African Cup of Nations. Basuma, African Cup of Nations. We've actually got Son. He's not centre mid, obviously, but. With this in mind, do we prioritise centre mid now in January? Because the transfer window's coming. Do we prioritise bringing a centre midfielder in with the injuries? You
know what's going to happen? Because it's Tottenham. Mali and Senegal will get to the final.
We know South Korea are going to be in at least a semi-final.
You know what I mean? They'll get to the final and you just see Basuma and Sarr singing their national anthems while we're 9th. Do you know what I mean?
They'll be in the final. They'll be in the final.
And then they'll both. What will happen is, it'll be like the 89th minute, and they'll both go in for a tackle against each other and both get injured.
Oh mate, that's what I'm saying.
You
Or
know
they'll have
how
a
it
punch
is,
up,
man.
or they'll have a punch up like Kieran Dyer and Lee Bowyer, and they can't play together. They can never play in the same field together, even though they're
The
brilliant.
whole thing is just crazy. We couldn't have started no better, and it couldn't have fucked up any quicker, sort of thing. It just
Oh,
in
mate,
a matter of a
you know how
game,
it is, man.
in a matter
Right,
of
you know,
one
football, and you know the
game.
Spurs squad, it didn't take a rocket science to figure out 2 injuries. This changes. It's going to turn, and it's exactly what's happened. Yeah, I mean, Chris, is it a priority now? I think most people agree centre back is the main priority. After that, would you say centre mid, or there are other positions we should be looking at in January?
Well, I've always said another player like Maddison, another natural playmaker, just because we saw what happened against Wolves without him for the first game. It was like the players were lost and didn't know who to turn to or what to do, and we were all
100%.
over the place. That's why I was worried about the Villa game, but then we created a lot. Whether that's because Kulusevski's in there, like Dan's been calling for, and players know he can pass the ball and he'll look forward, I'm not so sure, but certainly centre back. We need a top centre back to push those two and come in when they're tired or need a rest or injured or suspended. And yeah, this centre midfield now that Bentancur's out, Sarr and Basuma have been brilliant. Basuma obviously got sent off against Luton and kind of let himself down there with that ridiculous dive. But other than that, he's been absolutely fantastic. Sarr, 2021, looks like he's been playing in our midfield for years. I like Skip, I like Højbjerg, but they're so far below those two's levels. Bentancur's on that level, but he's injured now. So being that we haven't got those two, I think we need a centre-back. I don't know who, though. Calvin Phillips was named, and wasn't he rumoured a little while ago?
Yeah.
But he'll take a little while to get up to speed because he hasn't played football for about 15 years. Apart from for Gareth Southgate, he plays for him quite a lot. But yeah, I don't really know who else. And Lo Celso did quite well, but again, he's injury prone. And yes,
What other options do we really have, though? I mean, for me,
Yeah.
Skip is last of the last. He's an Eric Dyer for me. I think Skip is a poor player for someone who's meant for a team that's meant to be like fighting for a top 4 place, basically. And options wise, we are limited now. And you know, there's only going to be another injury or two when it comes to the next 7 games because they're so close and compact to each other. You know, there's another one coming now. I mean, we're already down to the bones. What are we going to be down to next? The marrow, basically, because there's going to be no bones left. We are in trouble.
We're going to be chomping on cartilage and that.
You know, exactly. We are. I think there's a phrase for it out of film. What is it? Fubard? Yeah. I think that's the trouble we're in.
He did, Benjamin. He certainly did. Bentancur, he got 2.5 months. I think it's confirmed a few hours ago. So yeah, it's going to be at least 2 months, 2.5 months. I think that's a player done for the season, quite frankly, because you're going to be very, very cautious when he comes back from this injury. More cautious than you would be.
We usually rush players back and get them re-injured.
Then he's definitely going to get re-injured and not be here for the season anyway, I think. I hope this isn't a Wanyama situation, because I tell you what, the best team we ever had at Spurs, the best Premier League team I've ever seen, was obviously 15-16, we came close to winning the title. As soon as we replaced Dyer in that centre midfield with Wanyama, Dembele, Eriksson, the great back four, prime Lloris, prime Kane, that was the best starting 11 I ever saw. That's league-winning standard. And unfortunately, Wanyama's knee went, he never recovered. Let's face it, he never really recovered from that.
He didn't.
He still played at a good level.
I remember when I was at Anfield and he banged that long. Remember that screamer that he scored?
Yeah.
That was.
I was sat with the Liverpool fans, man, and I thought they was all going to beat me up. So I was like, "Fucking!" You know, you don't you expect a goal, but you don't expect that, man.
Jacob, mate, you spend a lot of time in away ends, don't you? You was at the fucking away end against Wolves, weren't you?
Yeah, fuck them, man. What are they going to do?
It's easier to get tickets, I suppose.
There was a girl I used to work with. Her old man had like VIP at Liverpool, so they gave me and my cousin tickets. So I tried to
getting away tickets impossible, isn't it? I mean, Liverpool getting an away ticket there.
You ain't getting that, mate. Yeah.
So I'm debating doing it at West Ham. I was going to do it last year at West Ham. I think I'm going to do it this year at West Ham. It's going to be difficult because if I do celebrate, you're going to get in a punch up, especially with those gangster wannabes,
mate.
You could be wearing a West Ham shirt and you get punched. They punch anyone in West Ham.
No, wankers.
That's more Millwall.
You can say you're probably more Sun and you still get smacked.
I'll tell you what, look, in terms of the priorities this January, it still has to be centre back because, look, even with Skip and Højbjerg and Lo Celso, I trust them over Dyer, Royal and Davis at centre back, fullbacks at centre back. I do. So it's not the end of the world if we don't get a centre mid in, but it is fundamental behind a centre back. And as Chris said, it needs to be a quality centre back, not just a run-of-the-mill Lungley who can't get a game for Aston Villa now. His contract's about to be cancelled by Barcelona. He can't get a game. So we need a Tapsoba. We need a Laporte would have been fantastic in the summer. Apparently, he's not very happy in Saudi Arabia and stuff. In fact, Neves isn't happy at Al Hilal, and that's another centre mid we could go for. Calvin Phillips.
Are Newcastle going for Neves just because
Newcastle going for fucking everyone? Because Newcastle,
they've got that little agreement, ain't they?
Yeah, which is disgraceful. That is. You don't do your due diligence on Tonali, who was being investigated in Italy before they bought him, and then you're allowed to go and just get someone from your other team that you run. Disgraceful.
No, football's bonkers, mate. That's what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, you see at the back, Davis in the middle for a game or two don't scare me that much. No, obviously he's not a choice that I'd have there, but I can live with him for a game or two. Like literally 2 at the most.
Wait till he plays Man City. Wait till he plays Man City, then tell me you can live with him. He's going to get
that's Man City.
That boy's going to get destroyed as a centre back in a 2 against Man City.
Yeah, but with Man City, the best defenders get destroyed, so that one don't count for me. Yeah, but for the past 2 games, I could have dealt with Davis there. It's having Dyer there is the one that freaks me out. And then, can you imagine if something happens to Davis and we got Royale and Dyer in the middle?
I'll tell you what I do.
Now it just gets worse.
I'll tell you what I do, not for the City game, because like you say, Tommy, anyone's going to get destroyed there. But for the West Ham game, Romero's back, stick Dorrington in with him. At least he's a centre back. And how do you know how good these youngsters are if you don't give them a chance? He's got, it might make Romero a bit more settled and not leader of a leader, but he's got a young player. He's got to nurse through the game as well, and he could be an absolute gem, Dorrington. So
it's like Tanganga. Remember when he came in against Liverpool and we was like, "Wow, what's going on here?" And then he had a wicked game, didn't he? And then obviously his career didn't take off, but you know, you never know what Dorrington could do.
I'd give Dorrington a go. Man City, I wouldn't, because his confidence could get absolutely destroyed in one game. In that one, but certainly West Ham. I think West Ham's at home, isn't it? It's that ridiculous 8:15 kickoff, but try him out. Try Donnelly out.
For me, this is the game. For me, look, I'm not critical of Ange. I really am. I'm not critical of Ange. I think he's a top manager so far, but he for me had to put Dorrington in rather than Royal against Villa, not Wolves, but we saw against Wolves they couldn't deal with a weak Wolves attack for the whole 90 minutes without Neto. That's a weak Wolves attack. So you had to get Dorrington in at this point. I don't know how
I would have thought so, but is Dorrington ready? Because he's been shot. He's been shown.
Ange doesn't feel like he's ready, but still, would you not take that risk over playing fullbacks?
I'd take a chance and see. How do you know if he's ready or not?
Exactly. And if he's willing to put Royale over Dyer, it's already showing that he's got no confidence in Dyer. So
and this is the big critique. This is Ange's biggest critique so far. This is his biggest critique. At the start of the show, I said he's got no plan B, and I've put it in the thumbnail, no plan B. This is his critique. You know, play the youngsters now. You've got no better opportunity to play the youngsters. If you're playing not just fullbacks, shit fullbacks now. Davis was good 6-7 years ago. Terrible fullbacks as centre-backs. You know, it's time to play Dorrington. And I tell you what, Dorrington, look at Dorrington, his facial features, he looks like Van der Ven's twin. 6'4", fast. Just they look the same. They've got exactly the same body type. They play well with the ball at their feet. Okay, it's only Premier League 2 Dorrington's playing in, the under-21s, but they're doing extremely well. If you're not going to put someone in here, you can't tell me that Ange's a manager that will trust in youth. We've seen it for Celtic, maybe. That's Celtic. That's the SPL. We're playing St Mirren every week. Different kettle of fish, you know. This is the Premier League, and I think he's going to have to adapt. And adapting is, you know what, you're going to have to trust players that you wouldn't usually rely on, and you're going to have to change from a plan A to a plan B. So Ange is going to get criticism now. If we lose to Man City, nobody cares. If we lose to West Ham at home, I'll tell you what, them placards are coming out. then placards are coming out, Ange out. I'm not.
Yeah.
No, it can't be Ange though. Surely, like, I'll go.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
But
But
Ange finishes 11th. I'm not going to call him out because I can see what he can do. But then when you've got a squad like this, man, it don't matter. You could be Pep wouldn't get us anywhere near top 4.
But there are so many brainless Spurs fans. There's so many brainless Spurs fans.
It's not so brainless. It's fickle. Football fans are fickle, you know.
Flip-flops.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't like the songs. I don't like these initial songs because it shows so much over emotion. When we're winning, we show the exact emotion when we start losing. Over emotion. Throw our toys at the pram. Really quick to sing a song, then really quick to want a manager out. That's over emotion.
I didn't hear anyone at the ground booing or shouting Ange out or anything that.
Not yet, but as I said, we lose at home to West Ham. We lose at home to we lose to Man City and lose at home to West Ham. I know in the Spurs fan base.
I'd give the youngsters a chance because they'll be hungry.
At the same time, it's 6 on the bounce, man. Like.
I would have thought he would have at least done that against Wolves. Wolves is my game. I would have done that because that is the best chance he would have had to do that and get away with it if it went wrong. You would have thought.
Yeah, but what you get with the youngsters, what you get with the youngsters as well, they're hungry. They want to impress. They've come through the youth. They want to force their way in. Same with Tanganga. Skip, I thought was really good the first season. Got that injury and kind of went off the rails. Kane is obviously a world-class talent, so he was always going to come good. But they're going to be hungry to impress and try and keep their way in. And Dorrington, if he gets in, he's got at least a month, hasn't he? I think Van der Ven's back January time, maybe. Yeah, January time. So he's got at least a month
if everything goes to plan.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't keep playing non-centre backs in a centre back position. I don't. Well, personally, I don't think. And what does it say to those centre backs in training? It's like, well, I'm not going to get in. What's the point? I might as well just trot along, not really do anything. I'm not going to get in anyway. I'll get a nice little wage and then I'll go on a free at some point. But and the youngsters, well, what's the point?
And you lose youngsters, Chris, as well. Do you remember Markandale? He's doing pretty well for Blackburn now. His contract was up and he's like, they're not going to play me. Fuck it, I'll go on a free to Blackburn and see what I can do down there. If you're not going to give him a chance when the team's on their last legs playing Emerson Royal at centre-back, you're not going to get any fucking game time. When my contract runs out, as you said, go somewhere else.
And if they're highly rated,
seeing Eric Dyer getting on there.
Eric fucking Dyer, exactly. When he's in front of you, and
I must admit, I won't deny it. If I was 18, under 21s or whatever, or 20, either way, in that, doing good in my youth one and that, I can see how shit Eric Dyer is, and I'm still not even getting a sniff sort of thing. It's going to make me think. I'd be like, well, it's not even the question, am I good enough? I know I'm better than that. Why bother? I might as well just look somewhere else. It is going to make someone think when you can't even get given a go, basically, over someone as piss poor as Eric Dyer or Royale or Davis in the middle.
Exactly. So, and what it is that you remember, like, back in the day, say like 10 years ago, if you was an Alfie Dorrington in the same situation, you'd keep waiting and waiting and waiting. But then over the years, you've seen, like, Sancho just go over to Germany. You've seen Callum Hudson-Odoi, even though he hasn't smacked it, they're all going to different countries now. Bellingham, Musiala, they've all just gone. You know what? Bellingham, like you just said, I forgot even about Bellingham. It's like now it's not even like branching out to different clubs in the Championship. They're saying, "Oh, I'll go and try it in France. I'll go and try it in Germany." So you got to be careful because he could be somebody that goes to, the Germans are wicked at it, like a Dortmund, like a Leipzig. They might go, you know what, Tottenham keep going on about him. Go and get Alfie Dorrington. All of a sudden, he's there in the Champions League, and we've still got Eric Dyer somehow because we've signed him up with a new deal. You know what I mean? So we got to start giving him a chance because Poch did it. There was a time where Poch inherited a side where it was like all doom and gloom, and he's like, you know what, people don't give Tim Sherwood enough credit. Whether you like him or not, he brought in, he made us look and go, okay, the next, he's like, I'm going to pass you lot on to the next manager. And then you had Ben Taleb and Mason and all these guys.
Yeah, I was about to mention that, Ben Taleb. And do you know what, Jacob? Okay, we didn't stick with him, but we got £15 million for him from, I think it was Hamburg. This is what Arsenal were doing. Arsenal were fantastic at it. They either put him in the first team or they get 20, 30 million pounds from him.
This is what I'm saying. And you had Ben Taleb, you had Ryan Mason who done all right. You had
Winks.
You had Winks.
Well,
Dele
that
Alli
was
got bought in for $5 million. You had Danny Rose that everybody's like not too sure. Carl Walker, even. It was like it got to the point where we quite quickly, because you gave the youth a chance, it got to the point where if they smack it, cool, we'll keep you and you become a prized asset. And if you smack it for a small period of time, but then you don't get to the point where you extend that longevity, we can get 15 mil for you, like you just said. So it's like it's a nucleus that should work, because right now we're not in a position to rely on our established players, because our established players generally in the round are crap. You know, if you look at our starting 11, take that starting 11 out and then build another 11. The next 11 would probably get relegated, but the first 11 have got a chance to win in the league.
You can't have as well without the youth playing these established stars who are no good thinking, well, I'm in the team anyway. That you've got to have the young players pushing at them, forcing them out and going, okay, well, you know, he's going to be hungry. He's highly rated. I'm going to have to up my game, up my training, whatever, to force my way back in. But as soon as they're like, well, I'm in the team anyway, that's not good.
Yeah, exactly. You need competition, full stop. Whether it's an 18-year-old coming up through the ranks or somebody that you've bought from the Portuguese league, you need competition. It doesn't matter what level of football you're playing: Premier League, Sunday League, pub football. It gets to the point, if you're playing in a position and you turn up on a Sunday League, you know, Tom, you've been there before. You're playing centre mid. You know you're playing centre mid, but then someone goes, "Oh, Tommy, you heard about this geezer that Mark's brought in, proper quality centre midfield." You ain't even seen him play, but you go home and think like, mate, he better be shit. Because if he's any good, all of a sudden you start panicking, don't you? I've been there myself.
This is the other problem with buying the players, though, yeah? And now we're all talking about we need a quality centre-back and everything, yeah? Yes, we do. But are we going to be able to get a quality centre-back who's going to want to have to fight for his place, or...
If you don't have the mentality, if you don't have
I know what you're saying. But when you're already at the club,
then
when you're going to get played every game, you'll get a lot of players. They won't necessarily go to the club because they might not necessarily get their place, or they're going to have to fight for it game in, game out. I know that's the difference between a winner and half the players we got. But there's a lot of players that just wouldn't do it, and they'd wait to go to another big club where they've actually definitely got the space there because the defender's just left or whatever. That's going to be another problem we've got there with getting a good defender there.
Those players, I don't want at the club anyway. I don't want those players at the club anyway. You should have confidence in your own ability as a professional footballer. Especially Romero and Van der Ven, as we said, Van der Ven's going to get a lot of injuries with his hamstring. Romero gets a lot of injuries. You're going to get your game time at some stage. And really, Spurs should be in Europe at least. It's the first time in 14 years you haven't been in Europe, so you're going to get your game time in future seasons too. Regardless, you should believe in yourself. If you're not believing in yourself and you're thinking, might not get in this team, I don't want you. I really don't want you as a footballer anyway. You should have belief in your ability, in my eyes. But some players probably are feeling like that, and agents, more importantly. If my representative isn't getting the game time, you know, that's not good for me. So that's the agent could be in the players here, and that's a problem. Jacob, I know you got to go in a second, so I want your opinion on this.
I've got another sort of 10 minutes. You'll be right.
All right, brother. So, Sonny, mini drought, 3 goals without a game, sort of coincided with not really getting that creation, losing Maddison to injury. You worried about Sonny? You know, he went on a drought. He goes on droughts. Went on quite a large drought last season. If you're not getting the goals from him, you know, I'm struggling. Where are we getting the goals from?
Yeah, this is it, man. It's like Son needs a partner. You know, whether it was Maddison at the beginning of the season or Harry Kane, he needs those players around him. Like, remember when you said about the Championship side that we had? He had Harry Kane that could supply him or play the 1-2s with. He had Dele Alli, who he had a connection with, and then them 3 alone had Eriksen providing it as well. Then Bele driving. He had it in abundance. Now it gets to the point where all of a sudden them players have left, but he still had Harry Kane, and Harry Kane adapted his game and kind of made us not feel that we miss Eriksen or Dele Alli, because he was getting the goals that were making up for Dele Alli and he was creating like Eriksen. But then you take him out, it's like we bring Maddison in and that's our only hope. So I kept saying to people, if you don't get another number 10, Son ain't scoring. Do you know what I mean? So now it's getting to the point where the only reason why he's getting played offside is because the players behind him ain't got that creative spark. Like there was that goal that he scored. You know, an Eriksen, a De Bruyne, even a Bruno Fernandes, he would have played that pass a second earlier knowing that he's going to be offside. If he played it a second earlier, Son's in goal, because you can see from that offside goal the way he finished that. Son's probably the best at doing that finish in the league, but yeah, I'm worried because it's just because we ain't got the creativity. Like Kulusevski, to be fair to him, he was wicked last week. Like, he was my man of the match, and I remember thinking to myself, I was actually going to message in the group and say to Dan, like, fair play, because I generally thought, like, Dan, what he said there, I thought, like, he ain't going to be able to do it there, really. But in a weird way, he looked better.
He even said it after the game. It's his favourite position. He said it blatantly after the game.
Yeah, exactly.
What was very good about it is he was still going out to the right as well. It was,
yeah, I mean, so he's floating. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
His chance came from the right-hand side. Both his chances came from the right-hand side, stepping in. But as Dan said the other day, it gives defenders two things to think about. Is he going to be Cam or is he going to be in the right? Because Kulu's too predictable, just coming in off the left all the time. If defenders are like, okay, he's coming through the centre here, what's he going to do? It's amazing to have those two decisions. And I think Porro and Kulu are working together really well. The goal against Wolves was fantastic. Porro's going on the outside. Lovely flick from Kulusevski, gets it into Johnson early on. It's a goal. They're really working together. And it should work. Really, it should work on paper. Porro outside, overlapping, and Kulu inside. And it is sort of coming together. If you've got Maddison back in there, you've got Son scoring goals. This team in the first 11's there. We said it time and time again. This is a very, very good team, a competitive team. But it's not. And it's not going to be for a long time because Van der Ven at least is out for 3.5 months. So we're going to have to make do with some backup players. There we are. You worried, Chris, Son? To be fair, Jacobs, he did take his chance. The main one-on-one he got, he did put in the back of the net comfortably.
Yeah, I think it's just a slight communication issue. I think he's so used to Maddison and Kane last season when they get the chance, first time, ball into him, and then he can play on that line. So he's making the runs, I think, on the basis that Maddison and Kane are supplying the balls, which obviously they're not. Because if you look at the offside goal again, when Højbjerg, I think it is, gets it from Udogi, for some weird reason, he takes an extra touch and then plays it through. Kane, Maddison would have just put that straight through. There was a chasm of space for him to run into. So Postecoglou must be seeing that. Son must be speaking to the players who are going to play those balls. So I think once that gets sorted out, they'll get that communication, play it quickly, play into space. I'm still quick enough. I can get it. And there's no confidence issue because that was a wonderful finish. He could have easily passed that to Johnson and gave him a tap in, no need. And players all go through these spells, and it's just we've lost our creative player. It's against Wolves we didn't have him. We didn't try to replace him or anything like that. Villa we did. He'll get chances. He'll probably get chances against City because they'll play attacking football and we'll get them on the counter attack somewhere. But yeah, I'm not that bothered. I think it's just communication and him making the runs like he normally does, and the players delaying the pass where it needs to be either he delays the run slightly or the players more preferably play the pass when it's an easy pass to play on. So yeah, Højbjerg took an extra touch, didn't need to. Maddison would not have done that at all. It would have been through as soon as the ball came to him.
But at the same time, Son has to
engage
his brain. He has to engage his brain, knowing that ball's going to take a little bit longer. So stay on side.
If he has the conversation and Ange has the conversation, play the ball quickly. He doesn't need to because the player will play the ball quickly. So either Son needs to accept it's going to be coming later, hold his run slightly, or the player, okay, I'll just play it quickly. Son, carry on making your runs. I'll play it quickly for you. It just needs to be a communication. That would be a training thing, I would have thought. There must be some kind of drill that you can play.
But some players don't think that quickly. That's why they're not good at. They're not good at passing.
No.
If players could do that, they'd naturally be creative. That's what stops the best players from being creative because they're that second slower. But Son's learning this. He knows he's going to have to stay on side a little bit more. And I'll tell you, I want to read this out because Terry Wright puts, big up Terry Wright. Lo Celso is an adequate backup to Maddison. Now, I wasn't worried. Well. I wasn't too worried about the Maddison injuries. I was worried as such because it was only 5 weeks. And I thought Bentancur as a cam can work. Both-footed. I thought you can chuck him in there. And even Kulusevski to a certain degree, he has played there. Me and Dan seen him in Serie A. And he looks okay in one game. He looks okay. But now Bentancur's gone, and you're going to lose the right hand side. Now you're going to lose if you put Johnson on the right now, Johnson and Porro on the right. Then who are you going to put on the left? Because you got Son, and then who's on the left.
I don't think Hill had a bad game. I don't think he had a bad
No.
game. I'm not saying he had a great game, but he definitely weren't bad. The main
No,
thing
Gil,
John,
about
yeah,
Gil
Gil.
was-
I mean, I forget about Gil, but yeah, I suppose.
You know what it is?
Gil.
I think it was a little bit like I agree with what you're saying. He didn't have a bad game because I found myself quite a lot clapping because he did try, but it's like it feels like he
He
just
didn't
needs to
take
put a
his
spine
man
on.
Yeah.
He didn't take his man on. I think
It's
it's
exactly
like I
that.
don't blame him because imagine being his size and you're going up against a right back that's physically in all roundness quicker or stronger than you. It's difficult, isn't it? Because you know Matty Cash and then that like Andrew Konza for me is one of the most underrated defenders in the league, playing right back or centre back. So it's like with Brian Gill, I felt that he was looking at him thinking he did try to like knock it past him, but Ezri Konza was like, nah, that's going to be a goal kick. And it
You ain't going nowhere.
Start the
Exactly.
second half, though, Povo's chance, the one where he kind of scuffed it down into the ground and Martinez. So that all came from Brian Hill getting the ball, taking his man on, putting a cross in. First half,
He had
I
a
think
wicked cross in as well. with
For Son,
where he
Son
missed
should have
the
scored
header.
that header. That was a great cross.
Harry
Yeah,
Kane scored that.
I think it's lack of
Yes.
confidence or just lack of game time and just lack of fitness. 'Cause
Son
the
ain't one
first
for
half,
heading the ball.
I'm talking about
It's never been him.
Hill.
Yeah,
I'm
like the
talking
way
about.
that cross was beautiful, but it's like he saw it and thought it was a stone.
It was
Went
early.
out. I was like,
Do you know what it
doing?
was again? Do you know what it was? It was an early run. He went to it too early. And the chance for Brennan Johnson on the right, it was a free. It was 1-on-1 free. Went too early. It ended up
That's
a little
true.
bit behind him. This
But
is everything he'd done in the last game was going a bit early, whether it was offside or the header, this, that, and the other. And Kane would have finished all of those. Kane would have scored both of those. The header and the one that came behind it, he just would have scored. He would have scored those goals. He's not an out.
I'd give Hill a bit of game time though and tell him to take people on.
What was the reaction, Chris, in the ground with Gil every time he came forward? Were the Spurs fans happy?
In the first half, it was kind of going back again. It was like Aaron Lennon. Aaron Lennon had the beating of every player on that pitch for pace, but just lack of confidence always checked back. Second half, Hill was taking his man on, caused problems. So it's either lack of confidence, I think, or just lack of game time and therefore fitness. But when he takes,
Gil was knackered.
He needed
well.
to come off 5 minutes before he did because he was, I agree with that.
I thought Gil in the first half of
like
what he
him.
played, I thought he'd done all right. And if you remember, that's another one who I've been saying, give him a go on the left because I think he'll work for these tactics. I'm not saying it was the best game ever, but considering that's his first game of the season, basically, bar a minute here or something, and everything, I thought he had quite an all right game. And he knew his weak spot, that he just ain't taking the man on. So he made sure he got a pass to another player before it came to that situation. Yeah, all right, you wanted to take it on and that. But I thought overall he had quite a respectable game.
Yeah,
I won't say solid. I'd give him a 6.5. I'd give him a 6.5 sort of thing.
Some people gave him 4 or 5, and I'm thinking,
no,
I'm harsh
he
on
caused
Gil.
a bit of hassle there.
I'm harsh on Gil because I think £35 million is fucking ridiculous. But it's not his fault. He went for that money, and I thought he played very well in the first half. I thought he had a very good first half.
Yeah, to be honest, I do take my comments back because I think to myself, I'm looking back in the game now, and I remember clapping a lot, and it's like at the time when I was watching the game, I'm thinking to myself, it's your first start. It's an important game for us. It weren't too bad, if I'm honest. It's just it's a weird one. It just like you said, it is a confidence thing. Because I remember I think if you guys remember the chance when we were pumping Villa, and there was one point where Brennan Johnson cut it back, and a player with confidence, whether you're right-footed or left-footed, would have just tried to bury that with the right, but he tried to lay it off to Kulusevski. You could see it was like he's not used to doing this. Do you know what I mean? He's used to coming off on the bench for 10 minutes. He's only just come back from a long-term injury as well. So when I look at it, I'll probably take my comments back and say, like,
don't get me wrong, I thought he played well. I think he deserves a 7. I think he deserves like a 7 overall, but I don't trust him as a player. I don't think he's good enough for the Premier League. I don't think he's good enough for a top 4 team, even as backup, if I'm being honest.
Really, he should have been on loan last season to a Championship team or a League One where he's getting kicked about every 5 minutes to strengthen up.
You know, WTP's put it, you know, he lacks spinach. He's 8 stone wet through. He's 8 stone wet through, and that's the problem. See, in the first half, he was passing before he had to come in contact with Konsa. He passed at exactly the right time, 1-2'd it, went on the outside, so the defender wasn't a problem. As soon as he does go one-on-one and the defenders work him out, he's just not powerful enough. He's not strong enough. Sometimes he gets round his man. But I said before, somebody mentioned it on my chat, Aaron Lennon's a good comparison. And Chris just said it there. He's a very, very good comparison because Gil will try and hit that byline every time, and get across. And he offers you something very different to Son, very different to Kulusevski, who want to come inside all the time. But overall, I don't think he's going to make it in the Premier League. La Liga, mid-table, higher league table, maybe lower Premier League club, but he's not good enough for us. And £35 million or £25 million plus Lamela, it's crazy. It's not his fault. It's just crazy recruitment once again.
Problem is, though, at the moment, what options do we have?
No, we've got no options. So we've got to try and get the best out of him.
That is the problem.
We see that he's not the worst player. He's not the worst
I mean,
player.
on the ball, I thought he was good on the ball. And he held it up quite a few times to get the pass to the man behind him, just to keep hold of the ball and that. Overall, I thought he had a respectable game.
You know what it is?
And
like when we was talking about Bentancur and Mason, if Brian Gill was playing in that time where we was like, we've thrown everything out the pan, we're going to breed youngsters, and we understand that under Pochettino, I think Brian Gill would be looking at him thinking, yeah, we're going to give him 6 months to a year. And imagine if he was in the days of the Dele Allis and the Sons and the Ericssons, he probably would have become a good player. But I think right now with Man City, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, you got in Brighton and Villa in there. We can't afford to be sitting there hoping that Brian Gill would turn out to be.
Well, do you reckon we should just do with him with like what Barcelona did to Messi and that, pump some steroids into him or whatever, you know? So
we should, man, get some chicken fat in him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so he hits puberty and then he can start growing.
Well, I don't know, man.
We need to get Adama Traore struggling. Just get Adama Traore in for 6 months and take whatever he's taking.
Just ask Adama Traore if he can lend him some fucking muscles. You know what I mean?
Or get Ndombele to take him out for a night.
No,
definitely give him a weight,
take him to the kebab shop on Tottenham High Road. You know what I mean?
Even if he's fat, even if it is fat, it don't matter. Just get some body weight on you, man, because he is 8 stone.
Yeah, bruv, get your ass over here. Use me app. There you go. There's my phone.
That's what I'm saying. In like 20 years' time, like if my daughter comes home and she goes, "Oh, Dad, I want you to meet my boyfriend," and like he looks like Brian Gill, I'll be like,
"What is that?
Why? What's he gonna do, man? Like, I'm taking it you're gonna do the DIY then, yeah?"
He's genuinely about 8 stone, isn't he?
Yeah.
But then you look at other players. Look at Modric. And he's still running it solid, and there's nothing off the fella. You usually do
centre mid. He doesn't really dribble past players, does he? He backs off and plays a long passes.
Yeah, but Modric gets kicked all over the place his whole career, and he's straight back up. I've usually found that.
Have you seen Modric's legs? Have you seen Modric's legs? They're like fucking tree.
The smaller ones, though, they usually seem to have that little bit of small man attitude where they're straight back up on their feet. But with Gill, I get what you mean. He's just absolutely nothing of the fella. I think I've got more of my snake than he's got of himself. There is just nothing of him. There really ain't.
Final thing I want to mention before we move on from Son is actually we're an hour into the show. Look, everyone in the YouTube community is pretty much streaming right now. So I appreciate even 10 people being with us. If you haven't hit the like yet, please do, because we're sitting on 19 likes. It'd be fantastic if you can do that, and hit the sub as well. It'd be great. And we get a lot more people watching on the recording. So if you're watching on the recording, obviously you can't get in the chat live. Get a comment in, and I'll respond, and we can talk about it next time. So as I said, finally on Son, he's going to be. We're talking about Sarah Basuma going African Cup of Nations. You know, the next day Son's going to the Asian Cup. He's going to Asian Cup for a month, literally the next day, and South Korea are going to be at least in the semis. So. Who comes in? Looking at the team right now, the options. Veliz, the only natural strike we have in the team.
Donley, give Donley a go.
Richarlison, he's going to be back soon. Johnson, signed as a right winger, can play up top. Who are the options for you? Jacob, you've got to go. So who? I'll ask you first. You know, who's the option right now? Listen, we don't want it to happen. Let's say Son gets injured for Man City. Who's going in there for you?
Yeah, it's got to be Velez. Richarlison, I just don't think it's going to work. I'd rather just. It's got to the point where we're so threadbare that I'd rather just give the youngsters a go, because there's bound to be someone. You know, there's bound to. You know, I always look at. There's certain players like your Dele Allis, your Rashfords. They were given a chance, and it was like the first game they didn't set the world alight. It was like 2, 3, 4 games, and all of a sudden they've established themselves as good Premier League players. So I'd rather give Velez a go, because he did have a sort of reputation. You know, I'm not saying that Messi and Romero's opinion on football is the be all and end all for everything, but if they're coming out saying that they feel that he's one for the future, then give him a go. It's the same with the viewpoint of Buffon. You know, we bought Vicario from Empoli.
Mm-hmm.
Buffon come out and he was like, I don't understand why no one's chatting about this guy. Everyone was like, oh yeah, Buffon's getting old. within 2 months, it's like, well, Buffon was on stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of those where you got to take it like that, because there's a lot of players in football in general and the professional level, and nobody's talking about them. But then if someone's talking about them, of a Messi and you know the Argentinian squad are saying, look, in 10 years' time he's going to hold the mantle, then give him a go then.
Poch did say that Iniesta was going to, Winks was going to be the next Iniesta. Yes,
well, he's meant to be wanting to go on loan anyway, isn't he? He's meant to have already stated that he wants to go on loan.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So big up, Jacob. One up top. What are you up to, my friend? Before you go.
Yeah, just same old. Talking about only fools in Tottenham, and just doing the reviews after the game. So it's just,
you've had lots of content recently, because you seem to bring it out when we start doing badly. But
yeah, that's what happens when it's like, you know what it is. Yeah, I'll be real. Like before I started doing all this social media stuff, it was more like like when I was with my ex, it would be like Friday, we've gone out for a nice meal, gone out for a steak. Saturday, I've had a wicked day with the kids. But if we lost the North London derby on Sunday, it didn't matter what happened with the family. My weekend was shit. So it got to the point when I started doing the social media stuff, and then I started like linking up with you lot and other people before. It gets to the point where if Tottenham lose and I go on a video or go on a stream for an hour, after that it's like, right, I'm sweet now. So it's therapy, yeah, exactly. So that's and I like talking football anyway. So it's one of the ones, if I could make money off it, even better. But even if I don't make money, I'll happily do it because I enjoy doing it.
It is. That's honestly number one is therapy. It is absolute therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
You learn to get your emotions detached. You get detached emotionally and try and look back a little bit more neutrally. And I think you can see things clearly. At least that's how I see it now. After days, and I don't know how many videos I've done live streaming, but it's fucking. There's a lot. There's a hell of a lot, and it has been therapeutic. So Dan, Veliz, Charleston, Johnson, who's coming in if Son's injured, or just in January when Son goes?
Well, if Villas ain't there and we've got covers on the wings and that, stick Kulusevski there. Again, he played up front at Juventus a couple of times. I know he only done that, I think, about 4 times. But if I remember, they won 2 Champions League games with him playing as actual striker and Ronaldo cutting in on the right-hand side. We all know Kulusevski can bang the ball. And you can even play him as a target man up there. But that's definitely clutching at straws, going from a right to a centre to a striker. But again, we're very limited.
Unless you clone him, Lo
Celso, isn't it? By the look of it.
And that's a problem, isn't it?
It's just, where do we go? That is the thing. No matter what you mess about with, it's going to mess about with another hole in the team that we've already got. So, yeah, maybe that Velez has got to have a go there.
It makes sense, but this is the exact same situation in many ways to the centre-back situation, whereas we're playing full-backs at centre-back and while Dorrington's sitting there. And Chris, I know you mentioned Donnelly, but yeah, we've got Donnelly, we've got Veliz sitting there as strikers. Well, do you think Ange will go there? Do you think Ange will go with Veliz, or will he go with a Johnson, let's say, or a Richarlison?
He's going to have to go with someone like Veliz or Donnelly, or if Richarlison's still injured and his head's not right. But I'd go with Donnelly. He's been scoring goals for fun in the under 21s. Yeah, under 21s, but he's going to be confident. Veliz hasn't really been scoring as many goals. Richarlison's been really struggling. And I get what Jacob was saying about Veliz, but again, it's a young player coming from a completely different league, Argentinian league, different way of playing. Romero is established now. He played in Italy, which isn't a million miles away from English football. It's obviously a lot slower. Messi was just a freak. But yeah, Veliz is going to have to learn to adapt to English football. Donnelly's used to English football. I'm not sure if he's gone on loan or not, but he certainly played in English football, so knows the physicality and the pace of it. And he's going to be hungry, like I say, and he's apparently over 6 foot. So by that logic, he should have some kind of
6'2", I think it is.
Yeah, he should have some kind of presence about him. Whether he's just a beanpole like Peter Crouch, I don't know. But
more of a target man.
Yeah, 6'2", so he should be able to hold it up. Should be a bit of a presence up there. Should be good from set pieces. I'd give him a go, and it's exactly the same as my point with Dorrington. How do you know if these players are good enough without giving them a chance? And this is a chance because our main striker is out for probably a month.
I think the fact that Veliz is coming off the bench and he's getting game time, I would put him in front. But at the same time, it's not necessarily what we need. We don't need a hold it up striker. That's not how Ange operates. He wants strikers to get in behind. It's like Son. So as good as it is, I think Veliz or that sort of striker off the bench has worked for us when we're holding on to the game and seeing games out with Veliz up top. Similar to what Pochettino had with Llorente. I think Llorente was a fantastic signing for exactly what he gave us in the last 20 minutes of games. And you can go route one. If you're chasing a goal, go route one and try and hit him with a set piece and get a go. But I think the obvious option is to go with Veliz, the fact that he has got game time. And we will have to make that decision at some point. Although Richarlison's had surgery, it's a short-term surgery, so he'll probably be back by mid-January. Ange likes him by the looks of things. And you can't blame him because you really can't, because there's not too many options once again, as there is at centre. Just not too many options. So I could see if Richarlison's back, I think he'll go there when Son's at the age.
I think he's really struggling with the personal issues he had with a family friend or someone he trusted and everything like that, because he's not really looked like the Richarlison that you expect. And I honestly thought when he scored that goal against Sheffield United, that was a turning point. Just needed a goal. Didn't really work out like that. I really like Richarlison, but I'm not sure he's the answer. He's obviously a good fit for Postecoglou because he will chase stuff down. He will press. He's got energy, but I'm not sure.
You're not a fan, Dan. You're not a fan of Richarlison.
No, I can't stand him. I genuinely don't like. I don't like his attitude. I don't like the way he plays. I just don't. He's just nothing about the player that I like. And my saying about him, cut his head off before he goes on the pitch, and he really would look like an headless chicken on there. He just has not got a Scooby-Doo what he's up to half the time. He's no. For me, I'd try and get rid of him in January and just get another player in because he's that crap. We're not missing him up there, even if we got no one to play up there. I'd rather give one of the young ones a go up there instead of stick with Richarlison up there.
I think the team are after him, aren't they? In January, I saw a rumor about a Saudi team interested in Richarlison in January. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. But
yeah, I mean, it's like we're saying about the centre backs. Give Dorrington a go in there over Dyer, whatever else. That's what I'd do up on the left or in the middle over Richarlison. If we can sell Richarlison for 15, 20 million in January, get rid of him. Because if we hang on to him and he plays like this, we ain't going to be able to give the fella away. And we're going to be in the same problem with him that we have been with Dyer, Sanchez and Dombele. And the list goes on, basically.
The issue with Richarlison is that we can't let him go because of the injuries. I think we actually would. At this stage, if the team was fit, if Solomon was fit, let's say Perisic was fit, it'd give us many, many more options. And I think maybe we could get Richarlison out and get a striker in. It wouldn't be Tony. We wouldn't get Brennan Johnson and Tony in the same two transfer windows. It just wouldn't happen under Levy. We wouldn't spend 120 million on two players. But I think you could go for a 20, 30 million pound striker. The fact that there are too many injuries, the fact that Richarlison just had surgery, so the Saudi teams want to stay away a little bit until next summer anyway. So Richarlison will be here to the summer. He's never been a striker other than for Brazil. Because for Brazil, you got Vinicius on the left. He's not playing in front of Vinicius. The only position left is up front. Everton, he always played as a left winger other than the last 6 months when Calvert-Lewin was injured.
Yeah.
He had to play as a striker. Under Ancelotti, he was always a left winger. 90% of his career, he was a left winger. So when people are saying he's a striker because he plays for Brazil as a striker, I mean, nah.
It's only because they've got no bloody options there.
They haven't. It's more Jesus, basically. And Jesus can't finish either. He's a good presser, Jesus, but he's not a finisher of the ball. With
Jesus, you'll still get like 8 to 10 goals out of him, sort of thing. And Richarlison, I mean, what is it now? It's not even 4 Premiership goals, is it?
He hasn't got more than 2. There's no way.
Yeah, it's about 4 goals. It's about 4 goals overall. He's got, I think.
So he scored a few in the Champions League last season. He scored a few. Do you know what? Last season, when Son was rubbish, we're on the Son subject. When Son was rubbish for the first 7 games, Richarlison should have come in at that point for 1 or 2 games while Son was so bad. You've paid £60 million for a striker. Son is the worst I've ever seen Son for the first 7 or 8 games last season. Richarlison was coming off the bench and doing well. That's when you need to give him his game time. And that's when I've had Conte's back for a long time. But that was one of my biggest criticisms towards Conte. You needed to put Richarlison in at that point. Saying that, he just won the Golden Boot Award the season before as a left winger. So what do you do? It's a difficult situation for everyone. But I think naturally you put Veliz in at this point. And Darryl Denton puts purple patch player. He absolutely is. And that's why even with a mini drought, 3 games, you worry. Because he's the sort of striker that can score 10 games on the bounce when he's pushing it, when he's playing well. Equally, the drought, he starts snatching at chances. But as Jacob said, he did finish off a chance fantastically well. He's just offside, so that's a good sign. Fingers crossed. Even if we lose to Man City, let's just get Son back on the score sheet for the Christmas period, because it does get a little easier after City. We've got West Ham, Newcastle, 4 games in December. Easier, let's say. No Premier League games easy. That's famous last word saying that.
After what Newcastle just done to Chelsea, I don't think that's quite easy. Just nothing we've got coming up is going to be easy. I mean, West Ham, again, it's another one of those games where you can throw form out the window because it's a London derby. You know it's going to get personal on there, to say the least. Newcastle just ain't easy anymore, full stop. I mean, if I'm looking right, I think they've just gone and done, well, they're on 94 minutes and they're doing a PSG 1-0 again. We've got some hard games coming up, and it all comes down to the fact again, have we got the cover for it? I mean, I thought our biggest problem wasn't even the defence side, it was more the creativity side sort of thing. So we could play a you score 3, we score 4. But in that last game, we proved creativity is not the problem. Kulusevski done fine there, done very well there, like I told everyone he does. And we had plenty of chances in that game. We just didn't finish. That was our problem in the last game. It weren't even the defence that was the issue in the last game. It was the pure fact that we did not finish. How many chances did we have? What, 18?
Yeah.
Something like that. And at least 8 or 9 on target, if I remember right. And we get 1 in the back of the net. It just about says it all.
And add to the fact that we can't win headers in the air. They had 3 headers and they scored from, well, Pau Torres had an open goal and he didn't score from his initial one, but he scored the other one. And then Watkins scored straight from the kickoff, although it is minutely offside. That obviously doesn't help. But regardless of your defence, when you watch Premier League football, like everyone in the chat, as Chris and Dan have here, you miss those chances, you are going to pay. Even if it's Sheffield United or Burnley, it just happens. It always happens. So fundamentally, I 100% agree with you. It was the finishing that let us down. If you finish 2 of those chances, we would have won that game as far as I'm concerned.
Well, look, with the chances we had, we could have easily been 3-1 up at half time. Count their goal as well, yeah? They only scored 1 goal after that. We could have still won that game 3-2 just by what we'd done in the first half. And like I've said before, I think that was what Ange intended. Get out there, rush them, get 2 or 3 goals, and then maybe sit back a bit. But when it wasn't quite going that way, I think Ange should have changed his tactics a little bit and said to him on, say, 30, 35 minutes, right, drop off a little bit, slow down a little bit, just calm it down a bit. Because by the time it got to 60 minutes, 55, 60 minutes, we was absolutely knackered. They were shot. You could see it. And he hasn't got the quality of the subs to bring them on, to carry on that style of play. But the whole game came down to the fact that our finishing was awful. Son was like 2 minutes early for everything. Kulusevski, all right, that first one, you got to let him go for that. That was just unlucky, but there was 2 he should have ploughed in there. Gill could have had a clean shot on there. Their goalkeeper made 2 banging saves, no 2 ways about it, from Højbjerg and Porro.
That top right one was incredible. That was incredible.
Excellent save, no 2 ways about it. But again, we should have had at least 4 goals during that game. Easy. But Tottenham all over, innit? It's not that we weren't creating. We just was not finishing. And I thought creating was going to be our biggest problem with that Maddison. And it really wasn't in the last game.
Now, that's very true. But as I said earlier, team's going to work us out now. They're going to work out that we are going to go that attacking, and nobody could predict that. Spurs fans could predict that. Emery definitely could predict that, and Emery changed things in the second half to counteract that, and it ended up working. So a couple of chats I want to read out. Benjamin Foster, Ange has to get a loan option from somewhere. Veliz is too green and league won't spend. When you put loan and Veliz in the same sentence, I'm hearing there's on the streets that Veliz we're going to be looking to loan him out, which is crazy. But yeah, Newcastle beat PSG 1-0. Man City have come back and won 3-2. Apparently, it doesn't bode well for Sunday's game, does it? Mark Cousins, big up. How you doing, my friend?
No, Paris Saint-Germain just equalised.
Are they just equalised?
Yep, 98 minutes. They just banged one in.
So we got Man City Sunday, and then we got Newcastle the following week. They just smashed.
It's West Ham in between the two.
So City just won.
Of course, yeah, of
just
course. Yeah, you've got West Ham in between. As I said, those 3 games are tough. They're very, very tough. But after that, it does settle down a little bit, especially the last 3 weeks of December. So there are points to be made. That's why it's so essential Son scores. If he goes 4 games without scoring, 5 games without scoring, he's a confidence player, Son.
He's very hot and cold. I mean, Son's always been like that. I think really, I can say I've only seen Son play goal scoring 1 consistent season where it's been on a regular basis that he scores the goals, not just 7 in 5 games or whatever, and then nothing for 5 or 6 games. There's only 1 season I've actually seen him do that, because he is a very hot and cold player, isn't he? He's
and that's really what I think just stops him from being world class, putting him in the world class category. I think he's probably just below that. Even in his prime, I think he was probably just below world class. Unbelievable player nonetheless. Everyone loves Sonny. But purple patch player, now and ahead from Daryl there.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So, as I said, Man City, then West Ham. Are we going to get our asses handed to us against Man City on Sunday, Dan? If your life depended on it, did you think we're going to get smashed?
Oh, look, I use my old phrase for it, mate. After that City game, I think we'll be walking like John Wayne again, mate. We are going to get torn a new one. Seriously, we are going to get torn a new one. Especially, look, if we go defensive, we're going to get absolutely screwed. If we go attack, it's going to be no Vaseline. One way or another, we are getting shafted. I just do not see no hope in that game whatsoever. And there's going to be no friendliness in it.
I said we're going to lose to Villa.
But on the other side, it just would not surprise me, though, if we go and do City and then lose the next 2 games, because it'd just be the most Spursy thing you could ever do. Exactly. Go and lose to Wolves, go and lose to Villa, go and do City, and then go and get done by West Ham.
Even when we're finishing 6th, 7th, 8th over the last 4 years, we're still getting points against Man City. We still beat Man City. We're their bogey team.
On a realistic side, we're going to get absolutely screwed. I just don't see no way out of this one. But on a Spurs side, yeah, it would be the most Spurs thing to do. Bloody go and beat City and then lose the next 2 games as well.
It's crazy, but I see a point. Chris, is it one of those games you just think we're going to get smashed up?
Yeah, the way we've beat City in the past is we play kind of defensive, everyone working back, and then we counter quickly. Where if we go full on attacking like we did against Villa, which I think he'll do, there's gaps there. You've mentioned how City, you mentioned it earlier, don't really care about the press because they can pass their way through it. And then you've got Haaland, who will be seeing 2 full-backs as his opposition in the centre-back that will be just licking his lips. So I can't see anything other than a bit of a humbling. I'd love to, be wrong, but and they'll be smelling blood as well. We've lost 3 out of 3. They'll be smelling blood. This is another one for them to lose, and
there's a chance we're going to come out of there scared as well.
I'm going to get to the pub a few hours earlier because I'll need a bit of alcohol in me, I think, to.
I won't watch that in the pub, mate.
But
yeah, I won't watch
I'd love to be wrong, but I just can't see Ange changing his ways to be defensive and play on the counter rather than trying to attack from the off. I just can't see it.
I don't think there's much point changing against Man City. I think when you play the lower scale teams, I think you really do need to start adapting. But yeah, probably best to just go gung ho and see what happens.
3 losses on the trot. You don't want a 5 or 6-0 though. Do you? You don't want a hatful against you. That will damage confidence even more than it's probably damaged at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's very true. That's very, very true. As I said, I've just got a funny feeling. They're not in the best of form, Man City, but they peak at the right times. They weren't this time last season. They weren't in the best of form. No. They know when to peak, and they ended up getting the treble last season, didn't they? So
they are conceding goals. So there are goals for us, but then there's a lot as well.
City don't ever get in form until about March or April. They just plod along. And the scary thing is with this season, they're doing exactly the same thing, but they're in second place. I mean, what was it? Was it last season? No, season before last. They was in something like 8th, and people were saying they really fucked this one up. And then lo and behold, something like 15, 16 games unbeaten. They're right at the top and done the season again. City don't even get out of second gear until about March.
And I'll tell you what, we talk about the other team, the team that are top. I mean, early on this season, they're not playing well, Arsenal. They're winning 1-0, they're winning 2-1. They're really not playing well, but they're getting the results. And that worries me. For that same reason, last season they were playing really well and top of the league. They're not playing well and they're top of the league. It's worrying. But look, we've got to focus on Spurs.
I don't find
top 4 this season.
I don't find the Arsenal one worrying because I practically know what's going to happen with them again. They haven't got the good depth on the squad either. Bit better than us, but nothing special.
But they will change it in January. The difference is they will change it in January.
By the time
they
it gets
need
to
it,
that
change
time,
it. Remember,
towards the end of the season,
we needed players last season in January. We needed players. We needed wingers. We bid £12 million for Trossard. They rejected, which is ridiculous because he got one of the highest goal contributions last season for Brighton. 2 days later, they bid 27 million. They got him. He's a backup player. As a backup player, they will go big this January if they're in about that. I don't think they will. I don't trust Levy to do the same.
I don't think they've got the legal money to do it unless they go and sell a couple of players first because they have actually coughed up a lot of money. And you got to think they haven't been in the Champions League or nothing for 7 years. Their income hasn't even been close to our income over the past 7 or 8 years. Yeah. So there's only so much they can do without selling players. And they've spent.
Do you know what? They got 50 million for Nketiah, though. They got 50 million for Nketiah, so they got money.
I don't think they're going to spend crazy. But I reckon towards the end of the season, you're the same thing with Arsenal again. They'll either have an injury that totally destroys them. Again, if they lose one of their centre-backs, they're screwed, especially if it's Saliba, because Timber's coming back from a big injury. And I personally think Saka, he already looks worn out anyway. I think they're going to be burnt out again by the end of the season. Just for the way
they stick with Nketiah, they're not going to win a league. If in January they don't improve on Nketiah, I think Man City will be too strong. If they do, if they get an Osherman or a Tony, then it's a different kettle of fish.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just don't think they've got the quality to do it over City.
I think they have. Man City have been there, done that. They make history, don't they? City 4 on the spin if they get it. So what's the betting that they end up making history?
Look, mate, I've already put a bet on it at the start. They'll do the treble again this year. I reckon in the final you're going to see City and Munich, and that should be an interesting one.
Win the league. I don't think City are going to win the league. I think Liverpool are going to have a really strong second half. I think Arsenal, as I said, they're winning 1-0. They're winning 1-0 here. They're winning 1-0 there.
Liverpool do have Salah out for the best part of the month as well, African nations, and he's their main player.
But they've got a very, very strong force up front. They've got a good selection up front. Very good selection.
Nunes and Salah have got that like Son and Kane partnership as well now, and that's going to be disruptive for Egypt. Are quite a good team as well, so he's going to be out.
The other thing,
a fair amount of time
that City and Liverpool have is a world-class goalkeeper each. Arsenal have 2 shady keepers at the moment, where neither of them know where they're coming or going. They're both good keepers, but neither of them know where they're coming or going at the moment, and one of them's already got his dad in to complain. Either way, but his dad's coming to complain, so he's going to get kicked out of the club anyway. And
his dad is this like Sunday league, like when you're like,
his dad left. What was it?
Can I have a word with the manager, please? My son's
basically. What's his name? Not Raya, the other one. I forgot his bloody name now. Yeah, Ramsdale. His dad left a report on the newspaper, whatever. He thinks it's out.
Whose dad is this? Who's that? Is this Ramsdale?
Yeah, his dad left a report in the newspaper. He thinks it's out of all.
Apparently he's going on loan to Wolves. The latest rumour is he's off on loan to Wolves. But David Ray has been playing very well the last 3 weeks or a month. Do you know Onana's been playing very well the last 3 weeks to a month? So some of the keepers.
Onana was another one that I've said for ages. He's a quality keeper. Inter Milan last year, that's my second team I follow. He was brilliant in Italy, and he was good in the Champions League. It's just since he came over here, he's been shady but his past couple of games, he's been pretty solid.
I'm not bothered about keeper. I was completely wrong about Vicario, and I saw him against West Ham in a friendly and thought he looks shady there. A couple of crosses, goals he conceded. I've been completely wrong about Vicario. I think he's superb, but he needs the Van de Ven and Romero, or two quality centre backs with him. But some of the saves he's made this season, he's calm with his feet. He just last season I was always worried when Lloris played or Forster played, like what they're going to do. I'm not that worried about the keeper now.
No, Lloris has been done and dusted for a while, yeah, and that's another one I can vouch. I said to people, watch out for Vicario. He's a bloody good goalkeeper, and the amount of clubs he had after him and everything, it said it all, because they weren't small clubs. Yeah. But Vicario, I think, has been. You can definitely see that he saved us a few points, because having a solid goalkeeper can win you a league, gives you 10 points, gives you an extra 10 points, or gives you that great save in a cup game or something. And he's already got us about 9 points, because if that would have been Lloris in goal,
he's made some exceptional saves, like one-on-one saves. Exceptional. There are jitters with him at the ball. I don't like him coming out so much. He's a bit like a Nick Pope for me. Nick Pope is an unbelievable shot stopper. Still a little bit dodgy with the ball. He's dodgy on his feet. Coming out for crosses as well. Like even in the last game, there were times he probably could have come out for the cross and he sort of stood there. So as a one-on-one, I like my keepers just to save one-on-one chances. I'm old-fashioned, and unbelievable stops he's made. Like the Martinez one against us. He's made 4 or 5 like that for the season. Like a very, very good shot stopper. We've definitely found one there as far as I'm concerned. Right. I just want to touch, before we go into the final segment, we always have Muppet of the Week on a Tuesday. Got a few candidates this week. I want to touch on the right back position, because as we know, we're going to probably be coming up against our former right back, Carl Walker, again this Sunday. Is Porro, for you, Dan, the best right back we've had since Walker? I mean, we're looking at Aurier, Doherty, Emerson Royal. It's not hard, is it? But are you with Porro there? Are you feeling confident now? Are you feeling confident we finally sorted the right back position out?
Confident enough. Now, it's something you said. You see that Sergio Rivera, Aurier, whatever his name was. He was a quality player. He really was. He could tackle, he could pass, he could head the ball, he could shoot, he could cross, he could do it all. But he just did not have a football brain. That was the thing that let him down. Physically, and what he could do, he really was good. But mentality-wise, he just did not have the brain for it. And then you look at everyone else we've had as a right back. Porro is probably the best one we've had. I still don't think he's a good defender. It's just where he's been significantly better than last season, and last season he was piss poor. He's probably the best right back we've had since it's been Trippier or Walker. Yeah, I can't really think of anyone else.
I can't believe just the first person on the chat today. I know it's weird. We ain't got too many people watching, but the first person has mentioned the fucking snake.
No, second.
I was expecting snake jokes galore. But he's finally seen it. I think WTP was walking his dog, so he probably was just listening.
No, second one that mentioned it.
That's not a scarf, I can assure you. There ain't a lot of competition for best right back since Walker. There isn't. There really isn't. But so what have you made of?
She's only about 4 foot.
Fuck that. What have you made? What have you made of? Jesus Christ. What have you made of Porro so far, Chris? Not even been there 12 months. I think can we say there's been I know he's not great defensively, in slight improvements over the months defensively.
Yeah. Well, I thought at the start of the season there's no way he can play right back, because last year defensively he was shocking, but he's actually really improved. Emerson and Doherty, I felt really sorry for. Doherty was a right wing back, but we bought him as a full back. Emerson was a full back, and we bought him as a right wing back and asked him to change, and then as soon as they got used to it, we asked them to change again because we changed our manager. But I quite like Emerson. Certainly against Man City, I wouldn't be averse to putting Emerson as the fullback and putting an actual centre-back in place of him there, and then pushing Porro up a little bit, because both of them will track back, and Emerson, I think, is a better defensively. He can't cross the ball. Whereas Porro's crossing is superb. But yeah, I've been really impressed with Porro, certainly this season, because I didn't think he had it defensively in him. and that's completely changed from what I saw last season, where he couldn't defend at all. But going forward, superb, and his crossing is really on point.
Actually, to be fair, I have missed one out, and for me, this guy is a better right back that we had after Walker was Trippier. But we messed that up big time. I remember the fans getting on his back. This is
why we ever let him go.
One
I
of the
thought that
biggest
was
pet hates.
stupid.
This was the start of my distaste towards our own fan base. Trippier had a couple of bad games. He scored a couple of own goals in 5 games, and the fan base turned and said, "We have to sell this guy. We have to sell him." When the season before, even when Walker was fit, he was getting in front of him in some games, Trippier, because he was that good. And we sell him, goes to Atletico Madrid, wins La Liga with Simeone in his first season, which is no easy feat with Real Madrid and Barcelona there. First team, first 11, week in, week out. And then, well, Aurier, Emerson. Do you know what? With Aurier was great going forward, but it was a bit of a nightmare defensively. He was a hothead defensively, conceded so many penalties, a lot of the time out of position. But I tell you what, he could cross as well. Aurier would sort of work in this Ange system. Not only did we spend £23 million on him, we released him for free. Doherty, £15 million, we released him for free. Spence, £16 million, hasn't played a single Premier League game, can't get in the Leeds team now. Right back, we've had a mare, a massive mare. Carl Walker-Peters, we should never have sold him. He can play right back and left back for Southampton, and he's homegrown. You know, what we've done down there is just crazy. The mind boggles. I'm in disbelief looking at that position. But Porro, I always had confidence in Porro. And in 2023, you need to be able to cross a ball as a fullback, more than anything. You could even look at Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'm not putting him in that bracket, but he can cross. And he can take set pieces as well, like Alexander-Arnold.
So can Porro.
That's what I'm saying. So it will never be great defensively. He has improved slightly, and I have much more confidence with him there than Emerson Royal. That's for sure. Yeah. Especially if you've got someone like Romero and Van der Ven covering when they're fit with Van der Ven's pace. It's not such a bad situation as some people will imagine. But the only game I've been to this season was Chelsea. And
so it's your fault then.
When you watch him off the ball, fucking hell, he was shocking. And this is why I always ask people like Chris and Stel that go to the games week in, week out, because you don't see the whole pitch. You never really know TV's great, but you don't know what's happening off the ball.
It's different. On TV, you see more, but when you're there, you see different things as well.
You see the whole pitch. The difference is when you're there, you see the whole pitch, don't you? So when players are off the ball,
different games, basically.
So you see the defenders when they're off the ball, what they're doing, which is the key to defence. Your positioning, and Porro's positioning leaves a little bit to be desired sometimes, but he makes up for it.
He's quite a short fella.
Yeah, he is quite short. He's explosive though, isn't he? He's powerful. He's very powerful and explosive. I've got faith. I've definitely got faith in him.
No, I'm quite happy with him.
I was going to talk about the West Ham game, but I think it's too early to talk about a West Ham game. Let's talk about a West Ham game next week. So let's get to this stage of the show, the final segment. Before we do, please make sure you chuck us a like on the show. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. It really does make a difference to keep the channel rolling. Right, let me put this out. Muppets of the Week. I'm not sure if you've done this yet, Chris, but...
Yeah, I think I've done it once.
Right, so how we do this, pretty straightforward. I'll put a couple of candidates up. I don't know if you know who all of these are. If you don't agree with any of them, if you want to nominate your own, you're absolutely free to. So, Tony Stewart, the Rotherham owner, he got the piss taken out of him this week on social media with that suit. People saying he looks like a combination of, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but Steve Bruce and Colonel Sanders. Which I think is brilliant. That suit. That's like Liverpool FA Cup final mid-90s. He deserves to be Muppet of the Week just for that. Muppet of the Week just for that. Daniel Levy, exclusive member of Muppet of the Week, never not been on Muppet of the Week. So three games since our depth that this guy gave to us has been utilised, and it hasn't been good. Let's face it, especially on the defensive front. Heung-min Son. Son looked good early on, very good early on as a striker, but a lot of people putting him down, saying without a creator, without the Maddison or the Kane, the guy's ineffectual. Seen a lot of stick towards Son. That's why he's on Muppet of the Week. So, Chris, starting with you, any of these, or have you got one of your own?
I mean, that is a suit, isn't it?
It looks like a WWE suit, doesn't it? That's like the suit that what's his face used to wear, Ric Flair or something, isn't it?
Yeah. Matty Cash, Muppet of the Week. Awful person.
Matty Cash, of course. he could have been. I organised this earlier, so I didn't get a chance to put him up. But
I'd say Muppet of the Week, in all seriousness, is anyone who was involved in our poor finishing, because that's basically what cost us the game.
So Son, right? Is the first one Leslie Nielsen? That's a great one as well.
I honestly thought it was Voy Walker, an old picture of Voy Walker, but obviously not.
Yeah, I actually didn't think it was Steve Bruce because the initial photo was like that. So I actually thought it was Steve Bruce. But him mixed with Colonel Sanders is genius comparison. Dan, you never really choose any of the nominations I put forward. So you got one of your own, or you can choose one?
Yeah, no, I've got one of my own on this one, mate. That what's her name, Nella Rose or whatever from I'm a Celebrity. Get me out of here.
Oh yeah, fucking.
That stuck up, two-faced little bit. Oh mate, she definitely ain't made no friends. Let's put it that way. For me, it's her. That thing is a muppet through and through. From what I've read about her and everything, and what my missus said watching it and all that, what a complete see you next Tuesday, lady.
I think we'll leave it there. I think that's a great way to end the show. No, I didn't think of her either. There were a lot of candidates this week. I don't watch I'm a Celebrity. I'm not into that sort of stuff, but she has been. I should know better because obviously I'm on Twitter, and yeah, she has hit the headlines. Actually, on last week's Muppet of the Week, the first one was Nigel Farage just for entering I'm a Celebrity. So there you go. But do you know what? He's come out looking good. He's come out looking really good because of this Nella situation. So, you know, but look, my Muppet of the Week is Tony Stewart. You can't be wearing that suit. You cannot be wearing that suit live on Sky. You just can't. So right, we're gonna wrap the show up there. Chris, you're not really streaming Spurs stuff at the moment, but you do. You got your Magic. You still got your Magic show going. So where can we go to find that? And is your Spurs channel coming back anytime soon?
Let's Talk Tottenham is still on, but I've just not enjoyed creating the stuff and all the streams and all the stuff it entails and everything like that. So it's mainly shorts at the moment, and then on TikTok as well. I might bring it back, but at the moment, probably not. I'm quite enjoying appearing on
hiatus.
Shows.
It's on a hiatus.
Yeah, we'll say that. And yeah, Chris's Magic. That's every Wednesday. Won't be this week. Got stuff going on, moving flat, selling flat, and building and roofers issues and everything like that. So yeah, a bit of a break this week, but yeah, that's generally going on every week, 7:30 on a Wednesday, and then yeah, Let's Talk Tottenham, just shorts before, during, after games, and anything else that happens. And yeah, cheers for having me on. Been a long time. Glad to be back. Good to meet you, Dan, as well.
See you. You too, mate.
All good, Chris. Me and Dan, you can see us here. You can see us here on YouTube. Dan does quite a lot on other people's shows as well. So you'll see. Dan. You've been doing quite a few other shows the last week or so, haven't you? You've been
no, past week and a half, haven't really done much. Haven't really been up to standards just lately. Medical haven't been too well, but I'll be back into gear as from this week and that, and yeah, probably see me here, there, and everywhere, and doing a couple on here in the morning, and yeah, usual stuff. And then mine and yours on Sunday and Tuesday, all fun and games. Should definitely be interesting after the City one, that's for sure.
I can't believe no one's giving you jip. I cannot believe no one's been giving you jip about a snake. It's crazy, crazy. But there you go.
Well, you was just shocked with the message I gave you before, like we came on here. Don't worry, Tom,
I didn't know.
snake out.
He
didn't know what to.
I didn't know what it was. I was getting ready for the show, getting the show together. I thought, snake? What the fuck is this? Anyway, mate, you're braver than me. So yeah, please, we're on 24 likes. So before this stream ends, hit us up. One more like, get us to 25. And there's 16 people watching. One of you must have not hit the like. It is free, so smash that for us. Come on, get us to 25. And stay classy. Yes, just gone to 25. Stay classy, Luai. See you next time. Next show, Thursday lunchtime, definitely. I'll be on. But Dan does stuff sporadically here and there. So if you just get the notification bell on, you'll be notified of what's happening. Okay, peace out, everyone.